Welcome to CAN, Caribbean Affiliate News. My name is Siobhan Gobin. Here are the stories that we're following today, June 29th, 2013. From the Caribbean, reducing fiscal deficit major challenge facing Barbados economy, says Stewart. In Dominica, another deacon to be ordained. In TNT, UNC picks honest and loyal Khadija Amin. And in Guyana, corruption must be stamped out to attract investors. Details on these headlines and more when we return.
Since we announced Sign and Drive with zero out of pocket and low monthly payments, cars been flying out of Bronx Honda at a record pace. Whoa! New Accord with zero out of pocket for $249 a month, or new Civics just $199 per month, or save thousands with 0% financing. You never had to leave the Bronx to get the best price on the Honda. Bronx Honda guarantees the lowest price in the Bronx. Bronx Honda, East Tremont Avenue. Visit BronxHonda.com.
Welcome back to CAN, Caribbean Affiliate News. My name is Siobhan Gobin. This segment of the news is sponsored by Emerald Travel. The major challenge facing the Barbados economy is to reduce the fiscal deficit in order to determine a policy that finds the right balance between fiscal consolidation and economic expansion. Prime Minister Freundel Stewart told a one-day national consultation on the economy that Barbados is experiencing its most severe economic challenges since World War II, and that it had managed to stave off the worst effects of the economic and financial crisis which had bedeviled the world economy over the last 5 years. He told public and private sector officials at the day-long event on Thursday that the island's economic history showed that when the major trading partners from the developed world were doing well, we do well, and when they are challenged, we feel the negative impacts of their challenges. Stewart said that the test now was to reduce the fiscal deficit and that it was imperative to do all that was required to ensure that the foreign exchange earning sectors were restored to vibrancy and that we save foreign exchange. The Prime Minister contended that a fiscal deficit was not totally undesirable, but rather its size was a cause for concern. In the Dominican Republic on Saturday, 29th of June, the Roman Catholic Church will ordain another deacon as priest. Deacon Branca John, 39 of Coley Hort, a former Calypsonian, will be ordained at the Coley Hort Catholic Church from 4 p.m. Deacon John has said he is committed to the priesthood despite the many challenges facing the church. And I quote, "The basic things that a priest is called to do, which is to celebrate the sacrament with the people, expose the word of God to the people of God, and if we spend a lot of time doing that, I think all of our challenges can be that the work of a priest is not that complicated, and he intends to visit the sick, celebrate the sacrament with them, read God's word, and also pray with them. He believes the church is a place where people can find meaning in life." Deacon John will celebrate his first Mass of Thanksgiving on Sunday the 30th of June, which will coincide with the village feast. Earlier this month, Elton Litang, 37 of Guradel, who taught for 10 years at the Convent Preparatory School, was ordained as a priest. In Trinidad and Tobago, in the presence of former Chaguanas West MP Jack Warner, who attended the UNC Chaguanas West by-election launch, political leader of the ruling United National Congress announced that interim party chairman Khadija Amin is the party's choice to contest the Chaguanas. At Pepper Source Junction in Endeavour last night, Prime Minister Kamala Prasad Bisesa declared that Amin, the chairman of the Tunapuna Piako Regional, was selected by the party screening committee because they were looking for someone with integrity and who was loyal to the party. The Prime Minister reminded UNC supporters that Amin was a dedicated soldier who was arrested because she stood up for squatters' rights. Prasad Bisesa said she has been of service to the party and represents youth and women. Minutes after she was announced for the post, Amin, who was tipped to be the party's choice, said Councillor of Chaguanas West have already pledged their support for her. She said she was sad to leave local government behind, but she's ready to work with the people of Chaguanas West, who she has already served. In Guyana, President Donald Ramuta on Thursday went on the offensive against Western diplomats and other critics of his government, saying their actions help to create the negative images of Guyana that sometimes detract investors. Ramuta was speaking at the opening of the Guyana Investment Conference at the International Conference Center, which was mainly organized by the diplomats. It was the Canadian High Commissioner David Devine who used his speech to address corruption. He said the insecurity that is created by unwillingness or an inability to enforce laws and regulations is considered by many investors to be the single greatest impediment to the decision to invest. One of the goals of the two-day investment conference is to outline the impact of bribery and corruption on investment and discuss international best practices. And I quote, countries that condone or do not have effective preventive measures in place to stop corruption will find that the investors who are ethical and conscious of their global image will choose to not invest. There still may be investment deals. However, these deals may be accompanied by uncertain terms that will not offer the same integrity and commitment to the country and its people, Devine stated. President Ramuta picked up the Canadian High Commissioner on his talk of corruption. The Canadian High Commissioner said investors pursue investment opportunities in locations where practices such as child labor, bribery, and corrupt practices are seen as social ills that have no place in business dealings. He said that the investment conference was a necessary start to discuss best practices to help Guyana to forge its own investment path. He urged that the dialogue take place in a constructive manner. President Ramuta accused diplomats of overstepping their boundaries and taking positions without prior consultation. On this front, he blasted the United States government for downgrading Guyana in its annual trafficking in persons report. He said Guyana was on Tier 2 last year, but was this year placed on the Tier 2 watch list. According to Ramuta, the country had done nothing differently, and so he could not understand how it was downgraded. He said that year after year, the report fails to take into account Guyana's realities. You are watching Caribbean Affiliate News. We will be right back.
Since we announced Sign and Drive with zero out of pocket and low monthly payments, cars been flying out of Bronx Honda at a record pace. Whoa! New Accord with zero out of pocket for $249 a month, or new Civics just $199 per month, or save thousands with 0% financing. You never had to leave the Bronx to get the best price on the Honda. Bronx.
5 million customers use Leica Mobile for affordable international mobile calls, connecting over 2.5 million mobile calls daily, helping our customers stay in touch with their loved ones, whether they be in Asia, Africa, Europe, or the rest of the world. Every 5 seconds, a new Leica Mobile customer joins our growing family, helping you to make affordable international calls across the world. Leica Mobile. Call the world for less.
Welcome back to Cannes. This segment is sponsored by Claire. The UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon has appointed Jamaican-born diplomat Michelle Giles McDonough as the resident coordinator of the United Nations Systems Operational Activities for Development in Malaysia. Giles McDonough will also serve as resident representative of the United Nations Development Program in Malaysia, with additional responsibility for the Republic of Singapore and Brunei Darussalam, and will have overall responsibility and team leadership for the coordination of UN development activities in these 3 countries. Her appointment becomes effective July 1st. The Barbados-based diplomat served as UN resident coordinator and UNDP resident representative for Barbados and the Organization of Eastern Caribbean for the past 5 years. In Trinidad and Tobago, no final decision has been taken with respect to a Canadian supplier for the construction of a hospital at Penal. But the design phase for the construction of the hospital and rehabilitation center in Pinal is almost complete. President and CEO of the Canadian Commercial Corporation, Mark Whittingham, said on Thursday. Questions have been raised about the Montreal-based SNC Lavalin's possible involvement in the Pinal Hospital construction. The company has been linked to a series of corruption scandals internationally over the past 2 years and has been banned by the World Bank from bidding on bank-funded projects for the next decade. In a statement sent as a letter to the editor of The Express, Whittingham explained that the CCC, an agency of the Government of Canada mandated to assist in the development of trade between Canada and other nations, and the Urban Development Corporation of Trinidad and Tobago have been working closely with government since 2011 to support with the development and construction of the hospital in Pinal. Religious groups in the Dominican Republic said Friday they are outraged by the nomination of a gay U.S. ambassador to the conservative Caribbean country. James Wally Brewster would be the 7th U.S. ambassador in history to be openly gay, but opponents are asking the administration of Dominican President Danilo Medina to reject his nomination. Reverend Cristobal Cardozo, leader of the Dominican Evangelical Fraternity, said he worried about the message that Brewster's presence might send. U.S. Embassy spokesman Daniel Foote said in a brief statement to reporters that Brewster was nominated because of his skills as an international businessman and his ideas on democracy and human rights. And I quote, "Brewster arrives as an ambassador. He's not coming here as an activist for the gay community," Foote said. Local gay and lesbian activists condemned the LGBT collective. Lime announced on Friday the appointment of Martin Roos to the position of acting chief executive officer for the business. His appointment followed an announcement in February that chief executive officer for the Caribbean, David Shaw, would be stepping down after 4 years leading the company. At the time, Lime said Shaw would remain with the business for 6 months to facilitate a smooth handover of responsibilities. It also said Tony Reese, chief executive of Lime's parent company, Cable and Wireless Communication, would take over leadership of the business, working with regional business leadership team. In his new role, Roos takes on the leadership of all of Lime's businesses in the region and the group's executive committee, the company said. Roos joined Lime in April this year in the role of Chief Operating Officer. He was previously head of the Caribbean and Central America for Ericsson, the telecoms network supplier. Rice expressed pleasure that Martin Roos will be taking on leadership of the Lime business. He added that Roos is a capable telecoms executive with years of experience in the Caribbean country. Martin joined us earlier in the year and has made an important impact on the business already in focusing and strengthening our capability on the highest standards of customer experience, he says. You are watching Caribbean Affiliate News. Stay tuned.
Take your car out. This is awesome.
It's time to grow up.
You're crazy.
Little while
Faster, go faster. Stop.
it'll all be alright.
I raised my son to be careful,
Hey, sweetie.
but just to be safe,
So don't you worry.
I got a Subaru.
Love. It's what makes a Subaru a Subaru.
Coleman Subaru, 1710 North Alden Avenue.